setting Washington's agenda. The Morning Majority, 5 to 9 on 630 WMAL.
6:37 on the Morning Majority. It's Brian Eben, KT McFarland, and Mary Walter in this morning. Pleased to be joined now by ABC's Akiko Fujita, live from Japan, where we've been watching this story unfold for a whole week now. And it's, we'll ask her. ABC's Akiko Fujita in Japan. You tell us, what's the latest there going on right now?
Well, of course, the focus is on that nuclear reactor plant up north. There is some good news. We've heard that the power cable that responders hope will get the plant's cooling systems back up and running has been installed. But while they have that power line to the site, they still need to hook it up to reactor number 2. And there are concerns that even if power is restored, the cooling pumps it would run might have been severely damaged in the explosions and fires that have been reported at the plants. In terms of the other reactors, we do know that crews were able to go in today with those high-pressured water cannons and spray reactor number 3, but they were not able to dump seawater from the air with the helicopters. The Defense Ministry said they had no plans to do that without giving reason. All of this, of course, to try and cool down these reactors to avoid a meltdown. Government officials have not said at all what kind of effect all of these efforts have had on those reactors.
Do we know when we'll find out if the power is restored and if the pumps can start working again with the electricity?
We have not gotten those reports yet, but of course we'll be listening to officials to see when that will happen.
Okay, and what is life like right now in Japan? How are the people reacting to this, especially with the mixed messages, with the Japanese government essentially saying 12 miles stay away, the American government saying 50 miles away? How are the people reacting?
Well, you know, it all depends on where you are. If you go closer to the epicenter of the quake, you know, these people are still waiting for supplies in some evacuation centers. And so while they are concerned about the nuclear reactor and just what's going on, they are more concerned about just everyday survival. If you go to Tokyo, the capital city, you'll see people trying to stock up on food, stock up on batteries, flashlights. They are just making sure that they are ready for whatever comes their way. We've had a chance to travel around Japan, and what you'll hear is, you know, some people who say, look, this is out of our control. We're going to do what we can control and then just put everything in the hands of these officials and those workers on the ground. You'll hear other people who say, I don't think the government is giving me the whole story, and so I don't really trust them, and I'm going to do everything I can to be prepared so once, you know, regardless of what happens, I can survive. So, I mean, you hear a mixed message, and it really depends on what part of the country you're in.
Akiko, this is KT McFarland from Fox News, and I've got a question. One of the things that strikes me is that this is sort of as Americans are looking at this, we're saying, wow, the Japanese government is covering up, or the Japanese government is incompetent because the Japanese government has never been assessing the situation. They've always been assuming the best case analysis, and every single time it's been the worst case analysis. Others have said, well, you know, look, it's a different cultural thing. The Japanese don't want to come out and alarm anybody. They don't want to worry the population. They don't want to say something that might happen because it might not happen. I mean, what are you sensing? Are the Japanese people saying, wow, we're being covered up, we're not being adequately informed or prepared for the crisis? Or is everybody saying, okay, this is just fine?
You know, I have to tell you, it's tough to gauge, even being on the ground here, simply because we don't know what we don't know. I mean, essentially, we're just relying on officials from the Japanese government and also our experts in the U.S. To give us the assessment. So, you know, because we're not experts in what's going on with the plant, we don't know that much. But when you go out on the street, you'll hear some people say, I'm not so sure the Japanese government is being honest with me. I don't think so. But you know, the others, you really get a sense of just people saying, okay, you know, while we may not trust the government, there's not much we can do. And so you don't see this outward criticism, people just going after the government, because they realize this is a dire situation regardless of who's telling the truth. And they are just trying to look out for each other and just making sure they're safe. And if you talk to the evacuees, you know, they're just trying to survive. They've lost their homes. They don't have food. They don't have water. There are a lot of other things on their mind than kind of sitting here and thinking,
yeah, the government's lying to me. But if you know, the U.S. is telling its people a 50-mile radius to evacuate within 50 miles. The U.S. is voluntarily airlifting out U.S. military and civilian personnel and dependents, and maybe as many as 100,000 people. Are the Japanese looking at that and saying, gee, our government's telling us 12 miles, the Americans are saying 50 miles, maybe those of us who are in mile 13 through 50 may want to leave as well?
Well, you definitely see a divide in the reaction between foreign citizens, foreign nationals who live in Japan, and the Japanese. It's not just the U.S. or Americans who are living here who are evacuating. There are Europeans. There are, other foreign nationals who are saying, let's just get out of this country because we're not so sure what's going on. But the Japanese, for the most part, are staying put, number one, because they don't have anywhere else they can go. That's what it comes down to. And yes, they are looking at what the U.S. is saying, but I'm not so sure it's the case where they say that and say, okay, we need to get out even further. I think at this point, at least based on people we've spoken to, they are going to stay put for now. I mean, simply because, number one, they don't have a place to go to, and number two, because they just don't know what else to do.
You had said there's a shortage of food, of water, of fuel, and we all know that. And I saw an interview on television with some people who were saying, we're so frustrated because we can see the American ships off the coast. Where are the Americans? They want help, they want aid, but yet your government hasn't really authorized the Americans, or anyone else for that matter, to do that, to come on your soil, to provide that to the people. Has that started to change? Are they starting to get some relief?
It depends on where, what area you're talking about. I did get a chance to talk to, for example, the Red Cross, who also say that they're getting calls from people who are upset saying, look, you're not helping the people who need, the help the most. But what they're saying is that the ones that are most in need have, number one, no form of communication. Some of these areas where the roads were completely wiped out, they just can't get there. And so, it's only been a week since the quake hit. Things are slowly starting to roll through. And the other thing is, with the reactor, that has been a huge distraction as well. And it was really pretty incredible to see this morning, watching Japanese media reports. One of the reporters said he had spoken with an evacuee who told him, please be sure to tell people that the nuclear reactor isn't the only story here.
Right.
Don't forget about us because we need help and we need supplies sent our way.
Right. ABC's Akiko Fujita live from Japan. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.